the stronger the attachment, the more independent and confident your child becomes later in life. And on the flip side, weak or insecure attachment often creates clinginess and dependence. Welcome to the Connect Method Parenting Podcast, where correction is out, connection is in, and your kids want to listen to you. I'm Andy Martineau, creator of Connect Method Parenting, here to help you stay calm, confident, and connected no matter what. Hey everybody, we're coming at you today. Can you see the green? So pretty. Thailand, that's where I am today. And I've got a few things for you that I want to talk about. Got a little list here. I'm going to pull it up. First, we're going to talk about the pivot really quickly. Then we're going to talk about the 84-degree ocean water and jet lag. Oh, and Mexican food. We're going to talk about Mexican food. And finally, we're going to talk about, for the most of the podcast, we're going to talk about the 10 ideas about parenting that will change everything for you. Are you ready? So first off, let's talk about the pivot. So many amazing things are happening in my life right now. And one of the most remarkable things that's happening in my life right now are the parents in the pivot inside of League. So pivot is the first 8 weeks that we go through. It's this incredible boot camp where you learn all the Connect Method parenting things from top to bottom, or from bottom to top, probably is a better way to say it. And we're experiencing a massive shift right now. Everyone's doing such an amazing job. I'm hearing so many wins during office hours and on the discussion board. So I just have to say, bravo, everyone. One of my current projects is to find any and all ways to make the pivot better, focusing on that for the entire month of December, implementing those ideas, up-leveling the pivot in the most impactful way possible. I want to make the pivot the most phenomenal program that helps people learn how to parent from a place of connection on the planet. So that's what we're working on. It's so fun. It's lighting me on fire. I'm also working on CMP Mastery, which is where you can move into after you've graduated from the pivot. So a lot of stuff's happening right now, and I cannot even tell you how excited I am to launch CMP Mastery 2.0 in February. I think is when that will be ready, and the next iterations of Pivot next year as well. So stay tuned for that. Okay, let's talk about Mexican food for a bit. And I think I said I would talk about ocean water first, but I'm going to start with Mexican food. I grew up in Arizona. I love Mexican food, and we have not had any Mexican food since we've started our travel, which, you know, it's not really that big of a deal, but my palate has just been craving it. And I went online, the place we're staying here in Thailand, gave us this little link for a store that would come deliver some food. We don't have a car, so this store is a little bit bigger and you can pay them to deliver food. And I went on to that little website and I found some cans of refried beans, some shredded cheese, some salsa, and some tortillas. And we are going to have, when I'm done with this episode, we're going to have Mexican food. And I'm so excited. So excited. So many things that, you know, you don't realize what you have until you don't have it anymore. Theme for life. And something that's become very apparent to all of us as we've been traveling, which has been an amazing experience in so many ways. And one of them is appreciating what you have. It's just become really profound, and appreciating what you don't have that you find in these new places you're visiting. All of it is so amazing. The contrast. Wow. Next, I want to talk about 84-degree ocean water and jet lag. What? I know you're saying, what? If you're like me and you were growing up only exposed to cold ocean water, which for me in Arizona, California was our go-to, and the Pacific Ocean is cold. I didn't realize this until I became older, how cold it is. And last night when we went into the ocean, we've been going to the ocean in the evening because the first day we were here, my 2 youngest girls got burned really bad. 10 UV, didn't realize it. I tried to reach out to them. They didn't get the memo. They got burned so bad. So we've been going in the evening when the sun is down around 4 o'clock, gives us about 2 hours to swim in the ocean. But that 84-degree ocean water is amazing. Yeah, it's something. And so even though my brain keeps thinking, how in the world is it possible to have ocean water that warm? It's there. It is there for us. Every night greets us with this friendly, warm hug. I love it so much. So thanks for letting me go on a little tangent. Just had to give you a few insights into what's going on. And now let's talk about the 10 ideas about parenting that are so fun and so foundational to what Connect Method Parenting is all about. So I was sitting in my hotel room in Cairo thinking about both ancient Egypt and current Egypt. Egypt has been by far one of my favorite stops on the adventure so far. I probably going to say that about every place. I love Thailand too. It's so amazing. This was an unexpected stop, a spontaneous addition to our agenda. And Cairo was like that too. So, in Egypt, I should say, because we didn't just stay in Cairo. It was incredible. I love pyramids and hieroglyphs and mummies and all of that ancient stuff that I had studied my whole life. To see it was mind blowing. And I equally love and appreciate the current culture, the religion, the landscapes, the fertile areas by the river, the desert areas further out, the way people maneuver the streets with traffic. It's just incredible. It's literally, it's dance in motion. It feels like the way they navigate their roads, both the pedestrians and the cars. It's really remarkable. The way that people dress was so stunning and beautiful to me. I just loved the variety and the food. Oh, so different than what I'm accustomed to. Everything, the sunsets, magnificent sunsets. And I grew up in the Arizona desert, and there's something about desert sunsets that are just incredible, but the Egyptian desert sunsets are next level. The pastel colors, oh, so good. So I just loved Egypt. And there I was sitting in my hotel room thinking about the experience that I had just concluded. So the end of our trip. And I'm thinking about how different and yet similar Egyptian life is from the life I know in America. And I was jotting down some of my thoughts in a quasi journal entry on my phone. I can't wait to unpack it all for you. There's ways that it's connecting and illustrating so many beautiful parenting points. Can't wait to tell you. But on our flight from Egypt to Thailand, I got thinking about how Connect Method parenting is kind of the same way. There are so many things that are different than traditional parenting, and there's similarities too. So I jotted down some ideas as we were on the plane on my notes app again. And once we landed in Thailand, I started refining that list. And today I thought I'm just going to record an episode with you all. I want to share it with you all with the culmination of how that messy unfolding took place and how it led me to jot down the 10 things about parenting that I think are both significant and unique to Connect Method parenting. Hopefully that all made sense in your brain. It did as I was jotting down my outline, this meandering to noticing and appreciating and celebrating both the differences and the similarities. So I have shared so many ideas about Connect Method parenting on this podcast. You can find all of the ideas I'm going to share in this episode mixed in the 100+ episodes I've done. 100+. I can't believe it. So fun. But I wanted to lay out 10 really important ideas that make Connect Method parenting different. I wanted to have them all in one place. And then if you want to go search the podcast, you can find information on any of these topics. Or if you're in League, if you're in Pivot or Mastery, come in and ask me in depth about any of these. And I would love to talk more about it because I'm gonna go through this list fairly quickly. So thought number 1, connection is the most powerful force to influence your children and also our preeminent need as humans. So your child has an innate, a natural drive, something that's deep and instinctual that you can't see, but it's always at work. In psychology, we call this attachment theory. And it's simple. As children grow, they form powerful attachments, especially with the people who care for them the most, their parents, their teachers, their grandparents, their aunts and their uncles. Those attachments are created with the ultimate goal that safety and security come as a result of these attachments, these connections, these relationships that create togetherness. They happen when we're physically together. They happen when we're not physically together. They grow and evolve. In fact, there's 6 ways we attach to other people that we develop as we become more mature. And the culmination of these ways that we attach becomes so strong that most of the time you're able to stay connected or reconnect quickly if something happens. Ironically, the stronger the attachment, the more independent and confident your child becomes later in life. And on the flip side, weak or insecure attachment often creates clinginess and dependence. So amazing to look at this preeminent need we have for attachment with other humans. And here's the beauty. This connection does not require perfection, right? Hallelujah for that. I mean, like if it did, we would all be in trouble. Thank goodness it doesn't require perfection. It does require intention. It does happen naturally in the right environment. And if you're skeptical about how powerful this drive for connection really is, consider this. This innate primal drive for connection is what inspires a mother to risk her life to run into a burning building for her child. If survival was the preeminent need, she would not risk her survival for her child because it would trump it. But do you see what I'm saying? It's not the preeminent need. The preeminent need is togetherness, attachment, relationship. So we risk our lives for those we love. In natural disasters, families first go to make sure their family member is safe, to bring them into a place that they're going to be protected from the storm. They don't just go take care of themselves, because attachment is our preeminent need. It's why in the 1950s, Korean orphanages saw an 80% mortality rate, even though the children were given food and clothing and shelter. Connection isn't a nice to have, it's an essential. Attachment, or you could call it togetherness or relationships, their survival itself, like that is the essence of survival. They serve survival. Togetherness serves survival, not the other way around, especially for our kids. I have so many lessons inside of League and on this podcast. If you want to dive deeper into this topic, it's important. But the takeaway is this: connection is more than a feeling. It's what helps our kids thrive, and it's worth everything. And if you want to have impact and influence in your child's life, this is it. Connection, relationship. This is what will create more desire for your children to want to listen to you. And if you notice, I always say want to listen to you. I'll say, hey, get your kids to want to listen to you, because that desire, that wanting to listen to you is very different than get them to listen to you. I can get somebody to listen to me by putting a gun to their head, by offering them $1 million, but that doesn't mean they want to listen to me or that they would listen to me if that wasn't in place. So we want them to want to listen to you. We want to have relationships with people where we have true, authentic, genuine impact and influence, and attachment's a way to do it. All right. Idea/thought number 2, life is 50-50. It's 50% positive and 50% negative. I actually like to say it's 50% amazing and 50% terrible. I say it on purpose because I want to get your brain's attention. It's half good, it's half bad. That's the design. Your life isn't supposed to feel happy all the time. This world isn't meant to be perfect. You aren't here to be flawless, neither are your kids. There's this natural balance of positive and negative, light, dark. And the sooner we accept it, the less we fight against reality, and the less negative the quote unquote negative becomes. We can enjoy all of it so much more when we stop fighting against the reality. When we stop resisting the hard parts, we feel less anger, less sadness, less disappointment. We make space for both sides, in ourselves, in our kids. In that space, that's where peace lives. Thought/idea number 3, it only takes one person to improve a relationship, and that person is you. It's tempting to think, if my kids would just change, if they would stop whining, if they would be more grateful, if they would listen better, if they would go to bed when I ask them, then things would be better. But if you want a better relationship, if you want to change the way you show up for bedtime, because this relationship can be with a person or an event, the only person who needs to take action is you. With your parent-child relationship, it's about you shifting your thoughts, your feelings, your actions within that relationship. I want you to ask yourself, am I showing up the way I want to? If not, that's your work. That's your work. The goal isn't to change the things outside of us, the people and the situations outside of us. It's to become the version of you that you're proud of, regardless of what's happening outside of you. Trust me, Trying to change others doesn't work. I have been there and done that. It's very frustrating, and it's just better to stop trying to control what we have no control over. Thought/idea number 4. If you don't supervise and manage your brain, it most likely will ruin your life or cause you so much pain or results you don't want. So here's the deal. Your brain has 2 parts: the fight or flight part of your brain, the instinctive part of your brain, which has evolved for survival. And then we have our higher functioning brain, which includes your prefrontal cortex, which is capable of planning and creating and logical thinking. It's capable of having multiple seeing multiple sides of things, multiple emotions, being able to be balanced within us, and then choosing intentionally which one we want to use to take action. The primitive or lower brain operates on the motivational triad. So that's avoiding pain, seeking comfort, conserving energy. And this was totally essential for survival in the wild when things were more harsh, when we were up against the natural elements more. We actually had wild animals that were threatening our lives. But in modern living, it's a recipe for stagnation. If we let our primitive brain, or that limbic emotional fight or flight part of our brain, run unchecked, it's going to push you towards keeping your triggers, avoiding discomfort. It's going to push you towards not growing emotionally, not living up to your potential, chasing after quick fixes with yourself and your kids, avoiding challenging situations. This isn't about getting rid of that primitive brain. That's not what I'm saying either. It's about working with it. Your higher brain has to step in, has to take the lead, or you're going to stay trapped in cycles of corrective and reactive parenting. You're going to be stuck in trying to use punishments to get instant gratification, instant results, and you're going to miss the deeper, more meaningful life and connections that your higher brain can connect with your children and with yourself. So we got to be looking at our brain. Thought 5. Emotional maturity is spontaneous but not inevitable. So emotional maturity happens when the conditions are conducive. We have to feel our emotions and allow the things that we cannot change to change us so that we become more emotionally mature. We have to do this for ourselves first and foremost, and then, and only then, can we create the conditions where this can happen for our kids. Physical maturity is inevitable. It's spontaneous. We can't stop it. Next year comes around, our kids are growing. Next year comes around, we're getting older. It just happens. But emotional maturity is spontaneous but not inevitable. So to grow in a more emotionally mature way, or to have emotional maturity, we have to feel our emotions. We have to surrender to that which we cannot change. We have to allow our nervous system to find safety throughout the process of feeling all of the emotions that are coming up in our body. For us, this looks like us owning our emotions, feeling and processing them without judgment. It's about being honest with yourself about what you feel and leaning into the discomfort, which is necessary for growth, not blaming other people, not avoiding emotions through distractions. When you embrace emotional maturity, when you lean into the emotions, you say, all emotions are welcome here. There's need for all of them. Nature knows what they're doing. I need the contrast. When you lean into that, you create a connection with yourself. You create a capacity within yourself to be the most emotionally mature person in the room. Your kids are losing their mind. They are very triggered. And when you have done the work of creating more emotional capacity and maturity inside of yourself, you're able to lean in and stay emotionally calm and connected. Keep your logical brain online. Keep your higher thinking working for you so that you can be compassionate. You can set a firm connective limit if you need to. You create connection even when your children are at their worst. Happens every time. When you can stay regulated and compassionate when they are struggling, man, the return on the connection investment with that is double, triple, quadruple what you would normally get if everything's just going well. Because your kids know, hey, well, at least in their subconscious nervous system knows like, hey, this is a safe person for me, regardless of how bad I'm acting. I can trust them. And they put a lot of stock in that. It transforms relationships. It transforms situations. It creates profound safety. And I've seen it happen over and over again. So if you want to unlock your full potential, Mastering emotional maturity is the process to focus on. It changes everything. In League, I teach a process called daily peace. And within that process, we have a step called allow. And this is what we do every single day. It's one of the most important processes any human can go through to feel their emotions. Dr. Neufeld always says the problem with most of the issues children are going through, and I would say adults too, are that we are having more emotions but not feeling them. So it's more emotion, less feeling. And that's what I'm talking about. We have to learn how to balance that equation where we're feeling all the emotions that are coming through. We're allowing them to pass through. We're metabolizing them. We're going from activated to regulated over and over again. This is going to be a process that we're going to do a lot. So we want to get really good at it. And the way we get really good at it is by going through the process. We learn to ride a bike and get really good at riding a bike by riding the bike. We learn to feel our emotions really well by feeling our emotions consistently every single day through all of the ups and downs, all the 50-50 that hits us. Thought 6, what you want in life matters more than other people's expectations of you. You might think you're not living for other people's expectations, but if that's true, you're the exception, not the rule. Because humans are wired to seek approval, to form strong relationships with other people, and to fit into these groups that we have, these social groups. We're very social creatures. And this is especially the case with young humans. Our survival literally depends on having a caring adult that will take care of our needs. But as we grow up, as we mature, our survival no longer depends on other people to the same degree. But often we're not noticing this. We're spending so much time still chasing after what other people are expecting of us, trying to gain that approval. And it makes sense from a standpoint of where humans have come from and where we are and why we have this. It makes sense why we're seeking other people's approval. But this is something as adults we can look at and start to mature out of. Because often we don't realize how much time we're spending chasing what other people are expecting of us. But as we grow up and mature, our survival no longer depends on this approval like it did when we were younger, or we're putting too much stock in it. And if we could learn to approve ourselves and have a better relationship with ourselves, we would show up in these other relationships stronger and create deeper relationships with them. So instead of intentionally looking at what we want and what is most important and aligned to what we feel right and using that as a guide to live the life we want to live, we're putting other people's expectations in front of that. So what I want you to do is intentionally look at what you want. Look at what's most important to you. Look at what is aligned, what feels right, and use that as the guide. Use that as the guide. Other people's expectations are about them. So if you live for your parents or your kids or your friends or anyone else, you're living their life, not yours. The only way you know you're on the right path is to be honest about what you want and to live it fully as yourself. This is big, you guys. It's an important thing to notice what we want, which with such big hearts, I mean, the people listening to this, they want good things for themselves. They want good things for their kids. I know that the things you want are aligned to the greater good for you and your family. So get clear on what you want. And I just did a couple episodes, I think it was Wants 1 and 2, that you could go listen to get even more clarity about that. But notice how often you're living your life and making your decisions because of the expectations of other people. Thought 7, how you think about yourself creates your life. It determines literally the quality of your life. Not your kids, your house, your money, or your relationships. Those things don't decide the quality of your life. It's how you think about them and how you think about yourself and how you talk to yourself that truly matters. The skill of intentionally being aware of your thoughts and choosing those things on purpose. Most of them are subconscious right now, so we've got to do the work to look at them and choose them on purpose. That is what creates a conscious, meaningful life. The more deliberate and high quality you're thinking, the higher quality your life will be. Thought 8, everyone is doing the best they can in the moment that they're in. Notice I said in the moment that they're in. Think of your capacity as a 10, but what you can tap into changes depending on the day. It's shaped by things like how much sleep you had, what you've eaten, whether you feel healthy or sick, how you're feeling emotionally, your stress, your circumstances. Some days you're operating at full capacity. Other days, I don't know about you, but you're running on fumes. I feel that, especially lately. Jet lag has been rough. And some days I want to do a lot of things in different areas, be with my kids, get some exercise done, get a little bit of work done, and I just need to take a nap. I'm running on fumes. So I'm not at a 10 that day. You might know what you want to do, what you need to do, like eating healthy, going to the gym to lose weight, but still end up eating 2 brownies. If that was your best in the moment, eating 2 brownies, when you've decided you want to lose weight, I want you to meet yourself with curiosity and compassion. If your best was, raising your voice at your kids, and you're like, wow, that was a -2. What is going on? That's not my full capacity. I really was short of what I'm capable of. Meet it with curiosity and compassion. Learn from it, adjust from it, try again tomorrow. And this same idea, the same thought, the same truth applies to your kids. Just because they know better doesn't mean they can do better in the moment. So neutralizing behavior, whether it's your behavior or their behavior, creates space for growth instead of guilt. It sets the stage for real change, not stagnation, not shame. None of those things do. Like, shame is going to set you up to be stuck. Getting frustrated with yourself that you ate the 2 brownies, getting frustrated with yourself that you raised your voice at your kids again. It's going to lead you to stagnation. I want you to honestly own it. I want you to take 100% ownership for your behavior, for your decision to eat 2 brownies, for your decision to raise your voice. It was probably subconscious on both counts, but own it. Some part of you thought that was a good idea. Can you meet it with curiosity and compassion? Say, hey, if that was the best I could do in that moment, I'd really like to understand why. I'm working on another podcast where I'm going to go into this in depth because it's so important and so challenging. So challenging for our brains to really get it. So stay tuned for that. But I just want to lob this out there. And I've said this before on the podcast. There's other episodes too about this topic, but I'm going to say it again because it's hard for us to accept that we're doing the best we can do in this moment when in a different moment we could do better, or our kids could have done better yesterday at bedtime, but today they're not doing well at all. And our brain wants to say, like, what? That means I'm not good enough or my kids aren't good enough. But what it really means is you're a human being and you have different capacity that you're able to tap into on different days. So learn and grow from it so you can create change and tap into more capacity. That's what this means. That's all that we're talking about. That's what the work is. You do that, man, you're going to have change. Things are going to not stay the same. Thought 9, nature knows what it's doing. Trust the timing. In life, only artificial man-made things happen instantly. Real growth takes time. Think of sunsets, the changing of seasons, or vegetable growing. You can't rush it. Sure, you could pull a tomato plant up out of the ground and make it grow a foot overnight, but that's not in the best interest of the tomato plant, and the tomato plant probably won't last very long after that's happened because it's not real growth. The same goes for emotional and human development. Physical, intellectual, and emotional growth take time because human maturation takes time. So when we can trust this process, your nervous system stops fighting reality. Yeah, you start to see why your children act the way they do. You start to learn how to create the right conditions for them to grow into their full potential. When you try to rush the process, you turn to short-term solutions. And sure, they might work in the moment, but you leave yourself in a predicament because the same patterns are going to present themselves to you again tomorrow because we're not getting to the root. We're bypassing it. We're trying to do a shortcut. It's not for the betterment or the long-term growth of anyone. So showing up with patience, unconditional love, positive regard, and trusting in the natural process transforms not only your child's growth, but the quality of your own life. And finally, thought 10, your emotions are created by your thoughts. So let's break this down. Emotions are simply vibrations in your body, like mad, sad, happy, frustrated, excited, elated, disappointed. We usually describe them with a single word. Here's the key. Every emotion you have comes from a thought. Some are conscious, but most are subconscious and they're in your mind. And it's not the things outside of you that are throwing you around emotionally. It's your interpretation or your thoughts about those situations, about those circumstances. And here's the best part. You can inspect and change your thoughts. Connect Method Parenting does this. It's at the core. It helps you understand the connection between your thoughts and your emotions, making you aware of what you're thinking and teaching you how to choose thoughts on purpose so that you can feel differently, genuinely differently. We're not just talking icing on the cake. We're going to the core ingredients in the recipe. You learn how to think differently, how to genuinely feel differently, which creates a completely different life. Completely different experience when the kids are having off-track behavior. This doesn't mean chasing happiness all the time. When negative things happen, you might want to feel sad or frustrated for a moment. So you lean into the emotions. You allow yourself to feel sad and move towards surrendering, move towards letting it be okay that today didn't work out the way you wanted to. The goal, my friends, is not to avoid negative emotions. It's to not be afraid to feel them when they happen. It's to let them experience, or rather to have the experience in your body consciously, knowing that these emotions are consciously being felt. Whether they were unconsciously or subconsciously created or consciously created, I'm intentionally, consciously feeling them. So we start by understanding our own emotions and our own behavior and realize that they are always created by our thoughts. Okay, that's what I have for you today. 10 thoughts about parenting that will change the way you think about parenting. All right, we'll talk to you all soon. Oh, and if you've been listening to the podcast and enjoying the episodes, do me a huge favor and go review it. Bye-bye, everybody. We'll see you soon. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, come check out League, my Connect Method parenting coaching program, where we take this material and we apply it using my proven formula. Head over to cmp.works/join.